With AoE spell elements now being introduced in the Beastmoon, I expect us to see a lot of new players, so please share this video to them. Beastmoon is like a raid where if you don't know what you're doing, your entire team is going to hate you because you're randomly joining battles that you're not supposed to be in. So here is a summary of what the basics are, and if you need a more in-depth guide, click the link in the description. There are two versions of Beastmoon, Beastmoon Mayhem and Beastmoon Hunt. Mayhem, you split off with 2 people per battle and you walk into the lowest rank enemy first. You first kill the one with the lowest health and then the remaining enemy. Beastmoon Mayhem is all about doing the most amount of damage as fast as possible because you are racing against the clock. Once you complete the minion battles, Spiral opens, but only 4 people can go in it. The remaining 2 people in your team go to a specific fight outside to give the Spiral team blades. Depending on what map you are playing, this is where you go to get your team blades. There are 3 waves to Mayhem, which means once you complete the Spiral fight, you do the same thing over again with splitting off, but the enemies get more difficult. So instead of splitting with 2 people now, you have 3 people in your fight for waves 2 and 3. When you complete all 3 waves, you win. For Beastmoon Hunt, it's the PvP version and it is all about surviving by doing damage to kill one of the opponents first and then either shielding, healing, draining, summoning a minion, etc. to survive so that you can eventually kill the remaining enemy. But you stay with your team instead of splitting off. Capturing circles gives you points and the first team to 100 points win. So the first few minutes of Beastmoon Hunt is literally just running around the map, trying to find a pip and then reuniting with your team to capture the circles and fight. But in Mayhem, you are given pips at spawn so that you can fight instantly. As you can see, the 2 versions of Beastmoon is very different from each other, so check which one you are doing before you even sign up for a game. Do you see the dude or do you see the girl? If you see the dude, always collect the quest because it will reward you with 30,000 gold and moon gold dust, which can be used to permanently unlock forms or to craft spell elements for PvP. Next is to check what free forms are available because they change every 2 weeks. To do that, click on a form at the pedestal, and if it says upgrade level, then that specific school of form is available for you to play for free. The forms that usually does the most amount of damage are the small to middle sized forms that can do 200 or more damage in the first round. This is the beginner list of forms I recommend for both versions of Beastmoon without needing to tier it. These are the forms that get good when you tier them, which is why you see people play it. And these are the forms that absolutely suck. Do not touch them unless King Zal buffs them in the future. So now that you know what forms you are going to play, how do you play them? Beastmoon is all about discarding the trash to find the cards that you need. You determine what is trash based on how much damage it does for the amount of pips that it costs. Let's use the Death Pig for example. It has a 0 pip overtime, it can trap for 1 pip, it can do 200 damage for 2 pips, it can drain through shields for 150 damage and gives you 150 health back. And then it has these bats that do an overtime. You want to do instant damage hits instead of overtimes, which means we are discarding all of the bats. This is because overtimes allow the enemy to attack you for more rounds, meaning that you are going to get yourself killed the longer the enemy is alive. So you would rather do 200 damage with a Seraph rather than waiting 4 entire rounds to do 200 damage. You also determine what is trash depending on what version of Beastmoon you are playing. So for example, as a tier 3 Mythrat, my job in Beastmoon Mayhem is to go for an AoE. If this is my starting hand, I discard everything to find the AoE, which is the Jinn. But if this was Beastmoon Hunt, going for an AoE will get me killed. It requires me to survive 2 rounds to cast the AoE, but because you only have 350 health, you die within 1 round. This means that the playstyle would be to look for your troll, which does the most amount of damage before you die in that 1 round. If you didn't pull the troll first round, then you basically lost the battle. This is why Beastmoon Hunt is much harder because it relies on deck RNG to find the card you are looking for. You can get more copies of the card you are looking for at spawn with coins. You get coins by collecting chests or after the game you harvest your Beastmoon plants. Now you need to learn about counters if you're using a utility. Overtimes are counted by life, storm, and balance. So here you can see me shift an overtime over as a life or vice versa where you don't want to overtime a life, storm, or balance. Blades are counted by ice, death, balance, and sometimes myth. Shields are counted by fire, myth, death, and balance. Traps are counted by myth and balance. Weaknesses are counted by balance and sometimes myth. Heal over times are countered by death and balance, and lastly, minions are countered by the life cyclops and balanced minotaur forms as of this video. So how do you memorize all of the counters? You either learn by making mistakes or familiarizing what cards different forms have. For example, if you trapped a myth and it pushed it over and it killed you, then you forever learn that you should never do that again because myth counters traps. If he traps right here, I'm gonna rage because he's gonna shift it over. Keep in mind, not all schools can counter that specific utility. So as you see, balance counters everything, but they are only limited to certain counters. So you can weakness a balance eel because they don't have a card to counter it, but a balanced robot does have that card. As you can see, there is a lot of strategy to Beastmoon, which may seem daunting, but it honestly isn't that difficult because it gets easier the more you play it. If you want to learn how to play the different forms, I have 2 to 3 minute summaries added into a playlist, and if you want to learn more about Beastmoon, click the links in the description.